Hello and welcome to my first video about the massive challenge I've set myself for 2024. As I haven't posted a video on this before, I thought I'd start by telling you a little bit about what I'm doing, even though it feels like I've told everyone and his dog at this point. So I'm going to be taking on 7 ultra challenges. Those are long distance hikes ranging from 42 kilometres, which is marathon distance, to 106 kilometres. And these are continuous hikes, so I won't be stopping at night to sleep. I will just be going until I've finished the distance. I'm doing all of this to raise money for 2 charities. The first one is Pregnant Then Screwed. It's a charity that I followed closely for a couple of years. I won't go into too much detail on this video about why I'm raising money for them, because I have done a video a couple of years ago about some of the work that they've done with the early years sector, which I will link down below, and also a more recent blog post that I published when I signed up to these challenges that explains a bit more about why I want to work with them. And then I'll also link their website so you can go and find out more about all the things that they do for helping with parents and also the early years sector and childcare. The second charity that I'm raising money for is Pebbles, which is an early year setting here in Munsley. I am the chairperson for the setting, so I get a front row seat for the woeful underfunding that goes into the early years sector. And I also contribute and help with the work that goes into keeping the setting afloat for the community. More specifically, we are seeing a rise in the number of children with additional needs, whether that's social, behavioural or educational. We're seeing a massive rise, and this is across the country. It's not unique to us. So the money that I raise, I would like it to go towards improving our offering for those children. So any renovations that need to be done, any staff training that we need people to go on, any equipment that we might need, just to make the space even more safe and inviting for those children to express themselves more freely. Obviously, how much work we can do depends on how much money is actually raised. And so I'd be really grateful if you could donate to my fundraiser. The GoFundMe link is in the description as well. So I have been sharing updates on my training so far on various platforms. Smaller updates have been going on Instagram and Facebook. I've also been writing some blog posts where I just wanted to delve into some of my feelings a bit more. Things like that will be linked down below. And I was going to start making some videos about the actual ultra hikes. So my first one is at the end of this week as I'm filming. And I filmed my training hike number 7, because I thought it would go nicely in that video, my last training hike before my first ultra. But actually so much happened during that hike. So much emotionally and physically that went on that I really felt like I needed this to be its own separate video just to unpack what really happened. So first of all, here's some clips of me getting ready and packing, deciding what I needed for the actual hike. I have not quite filled up my camel pack. It's 2 litres full of 3 litres. And I've got to try and fit it in here with everything else. So, you know. Map. Right. First aid kit. Good. Yes. Excellent. All the things that I need. Should I hurt myself? Spare socks. We need spare socks. All the snacks. All the snacks. Head torch, because I'm going to be hiking back in the dark. I'm going to need some hot drinks on the way round. All the hiking is giving me quite dry hands, so I need some hand cream as well. Headphones, although I'm not going to put these in yet because they do need charging, but I think at some point I'm going to want to listen to something. And I've got fluffy gloves because I seem to have misplaced my running and activity gloves, so I'm just going to have to go for the fluffy ones. I'll have to go around my head because it gets really cold out there, although I did find this hilarious thing in the cupboard. It's my husband's from where he does racing. But I might take this with me. Other than that, what else will I be taking? The camera. And then my phone. Anything else? I can't remember. Oh yeah, I got these new inner soles, but I've been advised to take the old ones with me just in case these really hurt my feet so that I can put the old ones back in. So I'm going to do that now. Right, we're going to try it on, see how heavy that is. You know what? I thought 3 litres of water would be heavier than that. I know it's only 2 litres, but I thought it'd be way heavier. The route I was hiking was from Munsley to Sheringham along the coast path and then back again. I struggled to work out exactly how far that would be before, but I estimated using Google Maps that it would be between 35 and 40 kilometres. I really wanted to make sure I achieved a 35 kilometre hike before I go into the 42 kilometre one at the end of this week for the first ultra. Ended up being 43, so I actually did more than my first ultra is going to be, which is a good thing. But it was very hard. Originally I had wanted to make my first pit stop to be Cromer for a cup of tea and a refuel, but by the time I got to Overstrand, which is just before Cromer, my bum had gone completely numb from the cold. It was so cold in the morning, so icy. It felt like I had heavy stones in my back pockets, but I had no back pockets, so it was just my bum muscles being very weird. So I needed to stop and warm up, and that was about 11 kilometres into my hike. I would like to take a moment just to note the erosion along the coast path in Norfolk. We hear a lot, especially here, we hear a lot about Haysborough, and I think it's a lot more in your face, the coastal erosion there. You can literally see partial buildings that have crumbled over the edge of the cliff. You can see roads that lead to nowhere because the ends have just tumbled down into the sea. So you hear a lot more about that, you see it a lot more in the news. But along this path, just behind Side Strand School, about a year ago we had a massive landslide there where the cliff came dangerously close to the coast path. Before Christmas I did a hike here and I could still walk along the coast path there, but it was close to the edge. This time that bit was gone. I walked this way before Christmas and that path was still there, so that coast bit has eroded over the winter period. So from Overstrand I then pushed on all the way to Sheringham and I was getting very weary by the time I got to Sheringham. Sheringham was 21 kilometres into this walk. Prior to this, my hike before Christmas was 26 kilometres and that was tough, but that was fine. So by the 21 kilometres I was already feeling those same aches and pains in my hips. My feet were starting to rub and I was just getting very mentally drained from the walk as well. Just before you get into Sheringham was also one of the biggest hills that you have to tackle on this hike as well. It's called Beeston Bump. Elevation gain. Norfolk is not always flat. I could have gone round it and added a bit of extra time for skirting the edge, but I decided to climb up it, which was, I was rewarded with spectacular views, but it was hard when I was already feeling quite weary. This is Beeston Bump. I filmed this next clip just as I was getting into Sheringham, so before I sat down for lunch, and I think you can see, not just from my words, how weary I was, but I feel like you can really see it in my eyes, how tired and frustrated I felt. I've made it to Sheringham. Don't know if you can hear me over the noise of the waves. I've done 21 kilometres. It's taken me 4 hours and 40 minutes. And honestly, my body hurts so much. The temptation to give up now and call someone to come and pick me up is quite strong. Let's hope after I've eaten something and sat down for a bit, the determination will kick back in to finish. This here is where I should have stopped to change my socks. I took my spare socks. I said to myself at the halfway point, I'm changing into fresh socks because that's what all the advice tells you to do. I, for some reason, decided not to. But the other thing that would have happened if I had changed my socks is I would have had to have reassessed what was happening with my feet, which may have prompted me to put plasters on and to start the preventative measures for the blisters that were going to form. But for some reason my mind didn't go there and I just decided to carry on with what I was wearing. Probably the biggest regret I have from this walk. My feet ended up being ripped to shreds on this walk. Well, my heels. I am filming this 5 days later. It's been 5 days since I did that walk. I won't traumatise the internet with pictures of my wounds, but it is still really sore. It still really hurts. I'm still not covering it with socks. I'm keeping it open as much as possible, not walking, not putting back shoes on it because it hurts so much. So I'm just praying that by the time I get to do the London walk, it's healed enough for me to put plasters over it and to feel like I can do another 42 kilometres on it, because this is so painful. It was also, as I was leaving Sheringham, that my stomach started to feel a bit churning. I started to feel a little bit sick. And so after this, I actually stopped taking any breaks to eat. I sat down on a couple of benches, but I didn't eat anything else. I sipped my water, but I didn't stop for any more hot drinks. And that's another regret I have. I really feel like I should have pushed through that sick feeling to keep fueling my body. When I got home, my watch told me that I had burnt 6,100 calories. Obviously, that's an estimate, but based on what I was doing, that's what it estimates I burnt. And I definitely did not fuel myself enough for something that burns that many calories. This journey back is horrendous. I put my audiobook on just to try and give me something to take my mind off. How much my legs hurt. It's a really beautiful day. I'm going to see a beautiful sunset because it's so clear. I know this. I know it's only like 16 more kilometres back home, but my legs hurt, my feet hurt. I really have lost the motivation to keep going, but I'm going to keep trying. Right, I've just stopped to get all my lights and things out because it is getting dark now. The sunset has come, but I thought I'd take this opportunity just to say something. The microphone trying to block out the wind. I am in so much pain. I've just climbed up a hill and my knees are killing me. My feet hurt. I think I'm definitely getting blisters after this one. And I'm like on the verge of tears. And the only thing I could think to do to stop the tears was to get the camera out and talk, because sometimes talking about it helps you put it into perspective, helps you to be at one remove from the actual emotions. And I don't really quite know why I'm crying or why I'm close to crying. I know that my stomach is turning. I don't know if I'm actually going to be sick or not, but my stomach is churning right now. Is it from the strenuous activity? Is it from something I've eaten? Am I just sick? I have no idea at this point. But why am I crying? I don't know if it's because I've currently done 30 kilometres. That's where I am right now. I've still got 12, 13 or 14 or something to get home, at which point I will have done about, oh gosh it's windy, about what I'm supposed to be doing next weekend. And obviously next weekend, first ultra, is my shortest one, and this is how I'm feeling when I haven't even gone the shortest distance yet. I don't know if it's that and like the fear of what I've taken on, but I'm feeling very emotional about it. Whether I'll fail, whether I'll be capable of doing it, whether I've set this massive goal, especially with the fundraising, and like whether I'm actually going to be able to achieve it. And I think those are the things I'm feeling. And of course pain. And it's cold. And I'm alone. I have listened to an audiobook for the last sort of 2 hours of the walk, which has helped a bit, but I'm going to have to put it away now because I'm getting all my lights out and I need my head torch on my head and stuff. So what an amazing sunset. Is it going to be a trend? It's really cool. I wasn't sure about whether to include the clip of me being really sad and talking to the camera, because watching people go through stuff like that on the internet feels so invasive, and I always wonder why people feel like they should film at times like these. For me, this recording that clip was to try and put myself at one remove, as I said in the clip, was to try and put myself at one remove from the emotions. But I feel like I can't really tell this story about the emotional turmoil of that walk without that clip, because I was very close to tears. From then on, I was very emotionally all over the place. As I said, I felt sick, and it was just very, very difficult to try any coping mechanism I could to stop myself getting swept up into that emotion. Another coping mechanism that I tried was I started to more actively message my friends my friend group on WhatsApp, the girls I go swimming with. And I knew it was a long shot, but I put it out there. I just said, is anyone free to join me for any part of the end of this walk? And I knew it was a long shot because it was a Friday night, so the hope that people are not busy, the fact that we all have young children, so to be able to get out around those responsibilities, to find someone to suddenly come in and look after your children for you. And then equally, even if their husbands were at home, they'd have to get dropped off somewhere to walk with me. So it was, you know, not very logistically possible for anyone to come and join, but I put it out there. But I really didn't want anyone to feel guilty for not being able to join me, so I really tried not to show quite how bad I was feeling. I don't know how well I did at being casual about it, or whether they could see right through me. They all started messaging me loads. They sent me so many great words of encouragement, and even started singing in voice notes to me. I had the Proclaimers, I Would Walk 500 Miles sung to me. I had people's children wishing me luck. I had These Boots Were Made for Walking. I had all sorts sung to me. And considering I had been so close to tears, I was laughing out loud in the dark, walking along the road, which was just so nice. It was just so nice to have that. But I had said to myself, because I was feeling so bad at this point, I was like, I'm just going to let my watch get to 35 kilometres and then I'm going to call my husband to come and pick me up. I was like, there's no shame in quitting. It is fine. I was a bit sad about it, but I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure I do the 35 and then I'm going to get someone to pick me up. However, the goalpost moved. One of my friends said that they could come and meet me once their husband got back from running club. So I was like, right, okay, I'll just hold on until she can get here. She said she was going to drive in her van and like abandon it somewhere and come get it the next day. Like she'd find somewhere to park it. So I was like, okay, new goalpost. I will just walk until she gets, and then I will say to her, I need you to drive me home. I'll have done more than 35 kilometres. I'll feel even better about it. But that's the point at which I'm going to drop out of this challenge. So I carried on going. I stumbled around honestly like a drunk person. My feet hurt so much and it was so hard to see in the dark as well. It gets very disorientating, which is something I have read about, that once you start just focusing on the light with your head torch has, that it can get really disorientating. And it was. There was loads of times when I thought I might have like missed the right path and gotten myself lost. But yes, I carried on till she arrived. But when I saw her car approaching, I realised that she was not alone in the car. Her husband was dropping her off with her kids in the back. So there was no room for me, even if I'd wanted to have a lift back.
Just driving, looking for Holly. I think we've maybe found her.
I possibly stood open-mouthed as she got out of the car when I realised what was going on. But we'll never know, because she launched herself at me with a hot cup of tea with sugar in it, which I really needed. She hugged me, she gave me all the words of encouragement that I can't remember now because my brain was too fuddled. And she got me walking again. I think I'd lost the power of speech by this point because she just started posing would you rather questions and chatting at me, which I'm so grateful for because I really was at the end. I was at the very end of my abilities by this point. I would not have made it without her, honestly. I wouldn't have made it to the end. I'd have given up. I am so grateful to all of my friends for getting me through that final horrendous hurdle. I wouldn't have done it otherwise. I think it's the best thing that's come out of 2023 for me is that I have such an amazing group of friends now, and locally. You know, I've had great friends over the years. I still have great friends from all my various endeavours through life. Inevitably people move away, you know, even the people I went to school with, I never necessarily lived in the same village with them. So it wasn't like you saw each other all the time, whereas now I have such an amazing local group of women who I see every week, I share everything with, I chat about everything I'm feeling and going through. And they are such an amazing group of women because they so genuinely want to uplift each other. Like they are a proper hype team for any challenge that any of us are taking on, because we're all doing mad things at different points in our lives. But everyone just so genuinely wants the best for each other, and it's so wonderful. In fact, as I was writing my sort of little bullet points about what I wanted to say in this video, one of them left a goodie bag off my doorstep with loads of things to help me out, such as bath salts to help my muscles, sweets to make sure I can keep going, blister plasters and pain relief. And honestly, like now that I've got this massive blister, I'm so worried about blisters. I have like every type of blister plaster going. I have all of these. I don't want this video to go on for too long. I fear it already is going to. But I wrote a blog post before Christmas about long distance walking in the age of distraction, and that was about the discomfort of being alone for so many hours. In that one, it was about how once I pushed past 2-hour hikes, it went from being a really enjoyable experience to being able to just sit with my thoughts, to being something a bit more uncomfortable, especially in the 4-hour walks and things. Obviously, from what you've just seen of the clips of me walking here, this hike in particular really affected me, became really uncomfortable mentally to be on my own. I did listen to an audiobook for 2 hours, but I was out there for 9.5 hours. I think I had a friend with me for 40 minutes at the end. So, you know, that's a long time just to be in your own thoughts. Going forwards, I'm going to try not to have any really long walks on my own. I am planning a few like hike and cake night hikes as I try to practice more night hiking, which I'm hoping to be a bit of a fundraiser thing for people to come along on. And then I've had a few friends who've said that they'd quite like to get involved in a few hikes as well. So I'm going to try not to do too many long ones on my own because that is very mentally tough. The ultra hikes themselves are big events. So there are 2 days of hikes this weekend for London, and across the whole weekend they're expecting 4,000 people. So obviously I know that on my day there's not going to be all 4,000 people there, but there's going to be a lot of people, even though I don't know them, there's going to be a lot of people there. So I can at least try and strike up a conversation if I'm starting to feel a bit funny. So what else have I learned for the upcoming ultra? Well, I will definitely be changing my socks and taking more preventative measures with blisters. Anytime I feel remote rubbing, I'm going to be getting blisters out. I brought myself some sachets of Horlicks. When I was much younger, I suffered with an illness, and it meant I couldn't eat anything. So to keep my calories and my energy levels up, I was drinking chocolatey Horlicks. And so I just thought, do you know what? At the end, once you get cold and you are really struggling with your stomach turning, that's probably something that I'm going to really benefit from. So I've got some Horlicks. Also on that note, I'm going to try and push through any sick feeling. If I start to feel like my stomach is churning from exertion again, I'm just going to try and push through to make sure I keep fueling, make sure I keep having things that are going to help my legs keep moving. As this first ultra is in London and it's going to largely be concrete, I'm not going to take my hiking boots. I feel like they're going to cause me more problems than they'll prevent because they're so heavy and they have such inflexible soles, which are good for uneven terrain but not good for concrete. I'm actually going to take my new running shoes. I have worn them in, so I don't feel too worried that they're going to cause me any problems. But I was chatting to a friend who, as it happens, when living in Tokyo, both ran a marathon and hiked the route on a couple of separate occasions, and said that the hiking was actually harder. I wonder if it's because of how long it takes you to hike and how long your legs keep having to move. I don't know. But she did both, and she said she thinks she would recommend trainers. So as it's going to be dry, or it should be dry, I'm going to take my trainers for that. And how are my emotions now I've had 5 days to process what happened? Surprisingly good, I would say. I'm actually feeling quite excited about doing it again, which when I was at the end of that last one, I thought, oh my God, what have I let myself in for? But I think as long as I can keep the blister that I've already got under control and I make sure I take note of anything else that's starting to rub, then I'm actually feeling really good about it. I've got friends coming to cheer me on. There'll be people meeting me at the finish line. And as I say, there'll be loads of other people around. I have to say, though, I am nervous because in April I'm doing a 50, which is slightly longer. And then in May, I'm doing 106. And I really started to think about the fact that the 43 that I've done so far is less than half of 106. So I'm going to be doing double what I've done and then another 20 kilometres on top of that. And that's quite mind-boggling. That is quite nerve-wracking. So I think I'm going to be doing a lot of leg exercises and things to try and build up my muscles and do whatever I can to get myself to that point, because I think that is going to be so tough. But I'll keep posting these videos, hopefully, and tell you more about that one in another one. Not right now, because this video is getting too long. So I'll see you in the next one.